The stars belonged to the Hegemony Alliance. For 300 years, 5 alien races had ruled the galaxy without question. Their massive fleets moved through space like death itself, bringing entire worlds to their knees. Commander Yoon stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the endless darkness of space. His ship was alive. The walls pulsed with a soft blue glow, and the floor beneath his feet felt warm like skin. This was the power of the Hegemony. Their ships were not built from cold metal like primitive races used. They were grown from living tissue, bred for war. The ship could heal itself when damaged. It could think and adapt to enemy attacks. It could grow new weapons when needed. No force in the galaxy had ever defeated a Hegemony bioship. Most enemies surrendered the moment they saw one. Yoon looked at the star maps floating in the air before him. Green dots showed worlds under Hegemony control. There were thousands of them. Red dots showed free worlds that had not yet been conquered. There were only a few dozen left. "Commander," called his second officer, "we have reached the Kepler sector." "Good," Yoon replied. "Begin the patrol sweep. I want full sensor readings on every planet in this sector." The Hegemony did not conquer worlds just for fun. They needed workers for their mines and factories. They needed soldiers for their armies. They needed tribute to feed their growing empire. Every world they found would either join willingly or be forced to submit. On the main screen, Yoon could see his fleet spread out across space. 50 bioships moved in perfect formation. Each one was a kilometer long and armed with weapons that could destroy cities. The smallest ship in his fleet could defeat most planetary defense forces alone. Captain Hana commanded the largest ship in the fleet besides Yoon's flagship. Her vessel was made entirely of living crystal that could bend light and energy. The Vorthak were masters of crystal technology. Their ships could become invisible or reflect enemy attacks back at their targets. "Commander Yoon?" Hana's voice came through the communication system. "My sensors are detecting unusual activity in this sector." "What kind of activity?" Yoon asked. "Unknown ships moving through the outer systems. The energy signatures are strange. I have never seen anything like them." Yoon frowned. This was unexpected. Most primitive races used simple fusion engines that were easy to detect. These signatures were different. They were much more powerful than they should be for such a backward region of space. "Send a probe to investigate," Yoon ordered, "but maintain safe distance. We do not want to alert them to our presence yet." The probe launched from Hana's ship and flew deeper into the system. It was invisible to most sensors and could gather information without being detected. After an hour, it began sending back data that made both commanders pause. "Commander," Hana said slowly, "you need to see this." The main screen filled with images from the probe. What they saw made no sense. A massive ship was moving through space at incredible speed. But it was not made of living tissue like Hegemony ships. It was not grown from crystal like Vorthak vessels. It was made of metal, pure metal. The ship was over a kilometer long and covered in armor plates. Strange weapons stuck out from its hull like spines. Energy readings showed power levels that should have been impossible for such primitive construction. "What species builds ships like this?" Yoon asked. His science officer checked the databases. "According to our records, this region is controlled by a species called humans. They come from a planet called Earth. Our files say they are a primitive race with basic technology." "Those files are wrong," Hana said. "Look at the power readings from that ship. It has energy output equal to our largest vessels." Yoon studied the data more carefully. The human ship was not just large. It was fast. It was heavily armed. And it was heading straight for a world that the Hegemony had marked for conquest. "This changes things," Yoon said. "We cannot allow primitive races to develop such technology. They might become a threat to our expansion." He opened communication channels to all ships in his fleet. "All vessels, prepare for combat operations. We have encountered an unknown threat that requires immediate attention." Across the fleet, bioships began to change. Their hulls grew thicker. New weapons emerged from their living tissue. "Kibilseo," Tentacles extended from their sides like reaching arms. The ships of the hegemony were waking up for war. "Commander," his tactical officer reported, "the human vessel has noticed our probe. It is changing course to intercept." "Impossible," Yoon said. "Our probes are invisible to primitive sensors." But the evidence was clear on the screen. The metal ship was turning toward their position. More troubling, it was accelerating to speeds that should have been impossible for its size and construction. "Sir," Hana called from her ship, "I am detecting more human vessels in the outer system. They appear to be moving to support the first ship." Yoon felt something he had not experienced in many years. Uncertainty. For 3 centuries, the hegemony had faced the same pattern. They would arrive at a primitive world, demand surrender, and watch the local forces collapse in fear. This felt different. "How many human ships?" he asked. "Unknown, sir. Their stealth technology is better than our intelligence report suggested. I can confirm at least 3 more vessels, but there may be others." Yoon made his decision. The hegemony had not conquered half the galaxy by being cautious. They had done it by showing overwhelming force to anyone who dared resist. "All ships, move to attack formation," he ordered. "We will show these humans why the galaxy belongs to the Hegemony Alliance." The 50 bioships began to move as one organism. They had practiced this dance of death on 1,000 worlds. First, they would surround the enemy. Then they would demand surrender. If the enemy refused, they would demonstrate their power with a single devastating attack. Usually, that was enough to end any resistance. But as Yoon watched the human ship, on his screen he noticed something troubling. It was not running away, it was not calling for help. It was not showing any signs of fear at all. Instead, the metal vessel was moving straight toward his fleet, toward 50 bioships that had never known defeat, toward weapons that could crack planets, and shields that had never been broken. The human ship came alone. 1 vessel against 50. Yoon almost felt sorry for the foolish creatures aboard it. He did not yet understand that he was about to witness the end of the hegemony's 300-year reign of terror. Admiral Park stood on the bridge of the TCS Indomitable watching the alien fleet approach. The massive ship hummed with power around him. Every surface was polished metal and flashing lights. The bridge crew worked at their stations with calm efficiency. "Admiral," called Lieutenant Commander Lee from the tactical station, "we have 50 alien vessels moving into attack formation. Energy readings suggest biological construction with regenerative capabilities." Park nodded. Earth intelligence had been right about the hegemony. For months, human scouts had been watching these aliens enslave entire worlds. The reports were always the same. The aliens would arrive, demand surrender, and destroy anyone who refused. Whole civilizations had been wiped out or forced into slavery. But today would be different. "Communications," Park said. "Are we receiving any transmissions from the alien fleet?" "Yes, sir," replied the communications officer. "They are broadcasting on multiple frequencies. The universal translator is working on it now." The main screen flickered and showed the face of an alien creature. It had pale blue skin and 4 eyes that glowed with cold light. When it spoke, its voice was filled with arrogance. "Primitive vessel," the alien said. "I am Commander Yoon of the Hegemony Alliance First Fleet. You have entered space claimed by the 5 ruling races of this galaxy. Your species will surrender immediately and prepare to be processed for tributary status." Park looked around his bridge. His crew was watching him carefully. These men and women had trained their entire lives for this moment. The first real test of human military power against an alien threat. "What does tributary status mean?" asked Captain Su, the Marine commander. Lee checked his data pad. "According to our intelligence files, tributary species are forced to provide workers, resources, and soldiers to the hegemony, essentially slaves with different names." Park felt anger rise in his chest. The hegemony had been doing this for 300 years. Countless billions of beings had lived and died as slaves to feed their empire. It ended today. "Open a channel," Park ordered. The screen switched to show the alien commander again. Park stepped forward so the alien could see him clearly. "Commander Yoon," Park said in a calm voice. "This is Admiral Park of the Terran Defense Force. We reject your demands. This system is now under Terran protection. You have 5 minutes to withdraw your forces and leave." The alien commander stared at the screen for a long moment. Then he began to laugh. It was not a pleasant sound. "You must be joking," Yoon said. "One primitive metal ship against 50 biovessels of the Hegemony Alliance. Your species must have a death wish." Park smiled coldly. "You have 4 minutes and 30 seconds. The transmission ended. Around the bridge, the crew began final preparations for battle. Park had been planning for this moment since Earth first learned about the Hegemony threat. Every weapon system on the Indomitable had been designed specifically to fight biological enemies. "Commander Nam," Park called to his chief engineer. "Status of all systems." "All systems green, Admiral," Nam replied from the engineering station. "Magnetic acceleration cannons are charged and ready. Plasma batteries at full power. Quantum torpedo tubes loaded and armed." "Captain Sue," Park continued, "your Marines ready?" "Standing by in full combat gear, sir," Sue answered. "If any of those alien ships survive our first attack, my people are ready to board them." Park nodded. The plan was simple. Hit the aliens hard and fast with weapons they had never seen before. The Hegemony had grown overconfident after 3 centuries of easy victories. They expected their enemies to be afraid. They expected to win through intimidation. They were about to learn that humans did not intimidate easily. "Sir," Lee called out, "the alien fleet is surrounding us. They appear to be preparing some kind of suppression attack." On the main screen, the 50 alien ships moved into a perfect sphere around the Indomitable. Their hulls were glowing with strange energy. Park could see weapon pods growing from their living surfaces like cancerous growths. "Admiral," the communications officer said, "we are receiving another transmission." Commander Yoon appeared on screen again. This time he looked more serious. "Last chance, humans. Surrender now and your species will be allowed to serve the Hegemony. Refuse and we will destroy your ship and hunt down every human world we can find." Park looked at his crew one more time. Every face showed determination. Earth had sent its best ship and its best people to this moment. They would not fail. "Commander, Yoon," Park said, "you made one mistake in your threat." "What mistake?" the alien asked. "You assumed you would survive this battle to hunt down anything." Park cut the transmission and turned to his tactical officer. "Mr. Lee, you may fire. When ready." Lee smiled grimly. "With pleasure, Admiral." The Indomitable transformed in an instant. Weapon ports opened along its armored hull. Magnetic acceleration cannons extended from hidden positions. The ship's fusion reactors pushed power to weapons that had been built for one purpose: killing biological targets. The first salvo erupted from the Terran Battleship like the wrath of an angry god. Tungsten rods accelerated to 30% of light speed, punched through alien bioships like bullets through paper. The rods were designed to cause maximum trauma to living tissue. They tore through hulls, severed vital organs, and left gaping wounds that even alien regeneration could not heal fast enough. 5 alien ships died in the first 3 seconds of combat. The Hegemony fleet responded with their own weapons. Bioplasma beams lanced out toward the Indomitable. The energy was designed to disable enemy ships while keeping them intact for capture. It was their standard opening move against primitive opponents. But the Terran Battleship was not primitive. Ablative armor designed to absorb energy attacks took the hits without significant damage. Advanced shield generators deflected most of the remaining energy into space. "Damage report," Park called. "Hull temperature increased by 2 degrees, Nam reported. No structural damage. All systems operating normally." Park smiled. The aliens had just used their best punch, and it had barely scratched his ship. "Return." "Fire," Park ordered. "All weapons, continuous barrage." The space around the Indomitable lit up like a star going supernova. Plasma cannons fired streams of superheated matter that could melt through any known material. Quantum torpedoes created spatial distortions that tore alien ships apart at the molecular level. Railguns fired explosive shells at impossible velocities. In 30 minutes, half the Hegemony fleet was destroyed. The survivors tried desperately to retreat, but the quantum torpedoes had created gravity wells that prevented faster than light travel. Commander Yoon's flagship was burning and broken. His perfect formation was scattered wreckage. His invincible bioships were dying faster than they could regenerate. With his last transmission, Yoon sent a warning that would echo across the galaxy. The humans are not primitive. They are apex predators. The battle was over in less than an hour. Admiral Park watched from his bridge as the last alien bioship exploded in a burst of green fire. Where once 50 vessels had threatened his ship, now only wreckage drifted through space. Final damage. Report. Park called to his engineering chief. Commander Nam checked his screens carefully. Minor hull scoring from plasma impacts. One shield generator operating at 90% efficiency. All weapon systems functional. Casualties, 0. Park nodded with satisfaction. The Indomitable had just destroyed an entire hegemony fleet without losing a single crew member. It was exactly what Earth's military planners had hoped for when they designed the ship. Sir, Lieutenant Commander Lee said from his tactical station, we are receiving distress signals from the alien wreckage. Some of their crew members are still alive. Survivors? Park asked. This was unexpected. The alien ships had been torn apart so completely that he assumed no one could have lived through it. Captain Su stepped forward. Admiral, my Marines can conduct rescue operations if you want prisoners for interrogation. Park considered this. Earth intelligence needed to learn everything possible about the Hegemony Alliance. These survivors might have valuable information about alien military capabilities and future threats. Do it, Park ordered, but be careful. We don't know if these aliens are playing dead or planning some kind of trap. Su saluted and left the bridge. Within minutes, her Marine teams were launching in small shuttles toward the largest pieces of wreckage. Each shuttle carried medical equipment and translation devices in case they found injured aliens. While the Marines worked, Park turned his attention to the bigger picture. This battle would not remain secret for long. The Hegemony Alliance would eventually notice that their first fleet had disappeared. When that happened, they would send investigation teams to find out what had happened. Communications, Park said. Send a coded transmission to Earth Command. Use quantum encryption. Tell them that Operation Doorstop was successful. The communications officer began preparing the message. Operation Doorstop was the code name for humanity's first major engagement with hostile aliens. The goal had been simple: prove that human military technology could defeat the hegemony in open combat. They had succeeded beyond all expectations. Admiral, Lee called out, Captain Su is reporting that her teams have found survivors inside 3 different pieces of wreckage. The aliens appear to be in some kind of suspended animation. Their bioships were keeping them alive even after the ships were destroyed. Park raised an eyebrow. That was interesting. The alien technology was more advanced than Earth scientists had realized. Ships that could keep their crews alive even when cut in half were impressive, even if they could be destroyed by human weapons. Have the survivors brought aboard? Park ordered. Take them to the medical bay and keep them under heavy guard. I want to know everything about them before they wake up. An hour later, Park stood in the Indomitable's medical bay looking at 3 alien prisoners. One was the blue-skinned creature who had demanded his surrender. Commander Yoon was still unconscious, but his vital signs were stable. The other 2 aliens were different species entirely. Dr. Jin, the ship's chief medical officer, was scanning the aliens with various instruments. Admiral, their biology is fascinating. Each species has completely different organ systems, but they all show signs of extensive genetic modification. What kind of modifications? Park asked. Enhanced healing, improved reflexes, increased resistance to radiation and toxins. These beings have been engineered for space warfare over many generations. Park studied the unconscious aliens more carefully. If they had been modified for war, that explained how they had conquered so much of the galaxy. But it also raised new questions about what humanity might be facing. How long until they wake up? He asked. Unknown, Jin replied. Their suspended animation system is unlike anything in human medical knowledge. It could be hours or days. Park made a decision. Keep them unconscious for now. Use whatever medical techniques you need, but I want them to stay asleep until we reach Earth. Our interrogation specialist can handle them there. He left the medical bay and returned to his bridge. The battle was won, but the war was just beginning. Earth needed time to prepare for what was coming next. "Navigator," Park called. "Set course for the Sol system. Maximum safe speed." "Aye, sir." Course plotted. "We will reach Earth in 6 days at current velocity." As the Indomitable began its journey home, Park reflected on what had just happened. For 300 years, the Hegemony Alliance had been the strongest military force in the galaxy. They had conquered thousands of worlds and enslaved billions of beings. Most species surrendered the moment they saw hegemony bioships approaching their planets. But humans were different. They had spent decades preparing for this exact scenario. Every weapon on the Indomitable had been designed and tested specifically for fighting biological enemies. The magnetic acceleration cannons fired projectiles that caused maximum damage to living tissue. The plasma batteries generated temperatures that could burn through any organic material. The quantum torpedoes created gravitational effects that biological ships could not withstand. Earth's military planners had studied every piece of intelligence about the hegemony they could find. They had analyzed alien tactics, weapons, and weaknesses. They had built ships and trained crews for one purpose: winning the war that everyone knew was coming. "Admiral," Lee interrupted his thoughts. "Long-range sensors are detecting something interesting." "What is it?" Park asked. "We are picking up communication signals from multiple star systems in this region. The signals are not coming from hegemony sources." Park leaned forward with interest. "What kind of signals?" "They appear to be civilian communications from various alien species. Many of them mention the battle we just fought. Word is spreading fast about what happened here." Park smiled grimly. "Good. Let the galaxy know that the hegemony could be defeated. Let enslaved worlds understand that freedom was possible. Let other species see that the 5 ruling races were not invincible gods after all." "Keep monitoring those signals," Park ordered. "I want to know what the galaxy is saying about us." As the Indomitable flew toward Earth, its crew prepared for the next phase of humanity's expansion into space. They had proven that human weapons could destroy hegemony bioships. They had shown that human tactics could defeat alien strategies that had worked for 3 centuries. But Park knew this was only the beginning. The Hegemony Alliance would not accept this defeat quietly. They would marshal their full strength and come looking for revenge. When they did, humanity would be ready. For them, the age of human dominance in the galaxy was about to begin. 3 days after the battle, the news reached the hegemony capital world of Dominion Prime. The message arrived through the quantum communication network that connected all major hegemony installations across the galaxy. Supreme Chancellor Vex of the Sarid Empire read the report 3 times before he believed it. An entire First Fleet destroyed by a single alien vessel. 50 bioships reduced to wreckage by creatures the hegemony had dismissed as primitive. "This is impossible," Vex hissed through his reptilian teeth. "Our intelligence reports said the humans barely had spaceflight capability." High Admiral Cora of the Quillians floated beside him, her energy-based form crackling with anger. "The reports were wrong. These humans have military technology that rivals our own." The emergency council chamber filled with representatives from all 5 ruling races. The crystalline Vorthak delegates sparkled with agitation. The insectoid Nexari queen minds clicked and buzzed with concern. The aquatic dolphins moved restlessly in their water-filled suits. For 300 years, this chamber had been used to plan conquests and divide the spoils of war. Today, for the first time in their history, they were meeting to discuss a military defeat. "We need more information," declared Prime Crystal Zeth of the Vorthak. "How were our bioships destroyed so easily? What weapons do these humans possess?" "Admiral, Cora accessed the data files transmitted by Commander Yoon before his death. The information was fragmentary, but troubling. The humans used kinetic weapons firing solid projectiles at extreme velocities. Their ships appear to be heavily armored with advanced defensive systems." "Kinetic weapons?" Vex laughed with disbelief. "Throwing rocks at our bioships? How could such primitive tactics succeed?" "Because our ships are alive," Queen Mind Hala of the Nexari explained. "Living tissue can regenerate from energy damage, But physical trauma from high-velocity projectiles causes wounds that cannot heal fast enough. The humans found our weakness and exploited it perfectly. The chamber fell, silent as the implications sank in. The hegemony's greatest strength was also their greatest weakness. Their bioships could adapt to energy weapons and regenerate from most damage. But they were vulnerable to simple kinetic impacts delivered with enough force. "How many ships do these humans have?" asked Elder Finn of the Delphins. "Unknown," Cora admitted. "Our intelligence on their military capabilities is clearly outdated. We must assume they have more vessels like the one that destroyed the First Fleet." Meanwhile, on hundreds of worlds across hegemony space, a different kind of meeting was taking place. In hidden rooms and secret locations, representatives of enslaved species gathered to discuss rumors that seemed too good to be true. On the mining world of Karast Prime, a group of Zephyrian workers huddled around a hidden communication device. The device was picking up signals from across the galaxy, and the news was spreading like wildfire. "Is it really true?" whispered Deck, a young miner whose family had been slaves for 5 generations. "Did someone really destroy a hegemony fleet?" "The signals are coming from dozens of different worlds," replied Mora, an older worker who remembered stories of freedom from before the conquest. "Something big happened in the Kepler sector. Similar conversations were happening on tributary worlds throughout hegemony space. For the first time in 3 centuries, enslaved beings dared to hope that their oppressors might not be invincible after all." On Earth, Admiral Park stood in the Situation Room of Terran Defense Command. The room was filled with military officers, scientists, and government officials. Large screens showed star maps, tactical analyses, and intelligence reports from across known space. "The reaction has been exactly what we hoped for," reported General Kim, the head of Earth's Strategic Planning Division. "Rebellion movements are starting on at least 30 hegemony tributary worlds. What about their military response?" Parky asked. "Intelligence suggests they are mobilizing their Grand Armada," replied Dr. Jin, who had been studying the alien prisoners. "Our captured aliens have been very cooperative under interrogation. They are terrified of what their leaders might do to them for surviving the battle." Park studied the tactical displays. The Grand Armada was the hegemony's ultimate weapon. Over 500 bioships led by massive capital vessels from each of the 5 ruling races. If the hegemony committed their full strength, humanity would face the largest military force in galactic history. "Are our reinforcements ready?" Park asked. General Kim nodded. "The 2nd and 3rd battle groups are completing their final preparations. 12 more battleships and over 100 support vessels, all armed with the new anti-biological weapon systems." "Good," Park said, "but we cannot rely on superior weapons alone. The hegemony has been studying our tactics since the battle. Their bioships will adapt to our strategies." Engineer Kang stepped forward with a datapad in his hands. "Admiral, my team has been analyzing wreckage from the destroyed alien ships. We have made some interesting discoveries about their technology." "What kind of discoveries?" Park asked. "The bioships are all connected through quantum-entangled neural networks," Kang explained. "Every ship that gets destroyed sends its battle data to the entire fleet. The hegemony learns from every defeat." This was troubling news. It meant that the next battle would be much more difficult than the first. The aliens would know exactly what weapons humanity used and how they worked. "However," Kang continued, "this same network is also their weakness. If we can find a way to disrupt the quantum entanglement, we can blind their entire fleet at once." Park smiled grimly. Once again, human ingenuity had found a solution to an alien advantage. "How long do you need to develop a disruption weapon?" 2 weeks, maybe 3, Kang replied. "But we will need to test it in actual combat to be sure it works." "You will have your chance," Park said. "Intelligence reports suggest the Grand Armada will be ready to move within a month. They will come straight for Earth to eliminate the threat we represent." Around the room, the military officers began discussing tactical preparations. Earth's orbital defense platforms would be reinforced. The asteroid belt would be mined with hidden weapons. The outer planets would become bases for hit-and-run attacks against the approaching alien fleet. But Park knew the real battle would not be fought near Earth. Humanity needed to take the initiative and choose the battlefield. They needed to strike the hegemony before the aliens could bring their full strength to bear. "General Kim," Park said, "I want the combined fleet ready to deploy in 2 weeks. We are not going to wait for them to come to us." "Where will we engage them?" Kim asked. Park looked at the star maps showing hegemony space. There were dozens of possible locations for a major battle, but only one made strategic sense: the Proxima Nebula, Park said. "Dense gas clouds will limit their sensor capabilities. We can use our stealth technology to maximum advantage." The room fell silent as everyone considered the implications. Park was proposing to take the entire Terran fleet deep into enemy territory for a decisive battle against overwhelming odds. "Sir," Kim said carefully, "the Grand Armada outnumbers our fleet by more than 4 to 1. Even with superior weapons, those are difficult odds." Park smiled confidently. "General, the hegemony has been fighting the same way for 300 years. They have never faced an enemy that could match their technology and exceed their tactics. They are about to learn why humanity earned its place among the stars." The meeting ended with preparations for the largest military operation in human history. Earth's shipyards worked around the clock to complete the new battleships. Training programs pushed crews to their limits. Scientists raced to finish new weapons that might tip the balance of the coming battle. Across the galaxy, the stage was set for a conflict that would determine the future of every sentient species. The Hegemony Alliance prepared to crush the human threat with overwhelming force. Humanity prepared to prove that freedom was worth fighting for no matter what the odds. The Proxima Nebula stretched across space like a glowing cloud of death. Dense gases and cosmic dust created a maze of swirling colors that blocked most forms of sensor technology. It was the perfect place for an ambush. Admiral Park stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching his fleet take positions throughout the nebula. 12 Terran battleships and their support vessels had spent 3 days preparing for the largest space battle in galactic history. "Admiral," reported Captain Woe from the TCS Retribution, "my ship is in position at grid reference 7 Alpha. All weapon systems armed and ready." "Acknowledged, Captain," Park replied. "Maintain radio silence until the trap is sprung." "Commodore." Han commanded a squadron of fast cruisers hidden deeper in the nebula. Her ships were equipped with experimental stealth technology that made them nearly invisible even at close range. They would be the key to the battle plan. "Long-range sensors. Contact," called Lieutenant Rin from the communications station. "The Hegemony Grand Armada is approaching the nebula perimeter." Park felt his heartbeat increase. This was the moment Earth had been preparing for since first contact with hostile aliens. Everything depended on the next few hours. The Grand Armada was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. 500 bioships representing the combined might of the 5 ruling races. At its center was the Nixari Queenship, a vessel the size of a small moon that served as both flagship and mobile base. Supreme Admiral Threx of the Saurid Empire commanded the armada from his personal dreadnought. The massive reptilian stood, over 3 meters tall, and wore armor made from the bones of conquered enemies. He had never lost a battle in 200 years of military service. "Scanner report," Threx demanded from his bioship bridge. "The nebula is interfering with our sensors," reported his science officer. "We can detect the human fleet inside the gas cloud, but precise targeting is difficult." "No matter," Threx hissed. "We will burn the entire nebula clean. Nothing will survive our firepower." The Grand Armada began its attack with a coordinated bombardment that lit up space like a new sun. Bioplasma cannons fired continuous streams of superheated energy into the nebula. Living torpedoes with their own guidance systems searched through the gas clouds for human targets. But the Terran fleet was ready. The dense gases that blocked hegemony sensors also absorbed much of their energy weapons. Advanced human shields deflected the remaining attacks into space. "Now," Park ordered quietly. Lieutenant Rin activated the quantum disruption device that Engineer Kang had built over the past 3 weeks. The device sent a pulse of specially tuned energy, designed to interfere with the neural networks connecting all hegemony bioships. The effect was immediate and devastating. Across the Grand Armada, bioships suddenly lost contact with each other. The quantum entanglement that allowed them to share tactical information and coordinate attacks was severed in an instant. "What happened?" Threx roared as his command systems went offline. "Unknown, sir," his tactical officer replied. "We have lost neural link with the fleet. All ships are operating independently." This was exactly what Park had hoped for. The hegemony's greatest strength was their ability to fight as a single organism. Without their neural network, they were just 500 individual ships with no coordination. "All ships, commence attack," Park ordered. The nebula erupted with human weapons fire. Magnetic acceleration cannons launched tungsten rods at incredible velocities. Plasma batteries sent streams of superheated matter toward alien targets. Quantum torpedoes created gravitational distortions that tore bioships apart. Captain Woe's battleship targeted a formation of Vorthak crystal ships. The aliens tried to reflect the kinetic rounds back at their attackers, but tungsten rods moving at 30% light speed could not be deflected by any known technology. Commodore. Han's stealth cruisers struck from unexpected angles. Their advanced cloaking made them invisible until they opened fire. By the time the hegemony ships detected them, it was too late to mount effective defense. "Hull breach on decks 7 through 12, reported Commander Nam from engineering. "Damage control teams responding." The Indomitable shuddered under alien weapons fire, but its advanced armor and shields held firm. Park watched his tactical display as the battle developed exactly according to plan. The hegemony forces were confused and disorganized without their neural network. Ships that should have been supporting each other were fighting isolated battles. Their adaptive bioarmor could not evolve fast enough to counter human weapons. "Admiral," called Captain Sue from the marine deck, "my boarding parties are ready if any alien ships survive." "Stand by, Captain," Park replied. "We may need them before this is over." Supreme Admiral Threx tried desperately to restore coordination to his forces. Without the neural network, he had to rely on primitive radio communications that were easily jammed by human electronic warfare systems. "All ships, focus fire on the largest human vessel," Threx ordered. "If we destroy their flagship, their resistance will collapse." Several dozen bioships turned their weapons toward the Indomitable. The combined firepower was enough to destroy a planet, but the Terran Battleship had been designed to survive exactly this kind of concentrated attack. "Emergency power to forward shields," Park ordered calmly. "Return fire with all weapons." The space around the Indomitable became a storm of energy and metal. Alien bioplasma struck the ship's shields like the fist of an angry god, but human engineering held firm, and the battleship continued fighting without pause. The queen ship of the Nexari finally entered the battle. The massive vessel was armed with weapons that could crack continental plates. Its bioarmor was thick, enough to stop most human projectiles. If any hegemony ship could turn the tide of battle, it was this one. "Target the queen ship," Park ordered. "All battleships concentrate fire." 12 Terran battleships turned their weapons toward the largest alien vessel. The combined firepower was staggering. Hundreds of tungsten rods struck the queen ships, bioarmor in perfect synchronization. Plasma streams hot enough to melt steel burned through its living hull. But the queen ship was not easily destroyed. Its massive size allowed it to absorb enormous damage while still fighting. Repair tentacles emerged from its hull to seal breaches. New weapon pods grew from its surface like angry flowers. "Admiral," Rin called out. "The queen ship is launching some kind of biological weapon." Park watched his screens as thousands of small organic objects shot out from the alien flagship. They moved like living creatures, changing direction and speed as they approached human ships. "Biomines," Park realized. "They are trying to overwhelm our point defense systems." The small organic weapons swarmed toward the Terran fleet like angry insects. Each one carried enough explosive power to cripple a battleship if it made contact. With vital systems, "All ships activate automated defense systems," Park ordered. "Shoot down those biomines before they reach us." The space around the human fleet filled with defensive fire. Laser point defense systems tracked and destroyed hundreds of biomines. Particle beams swept through space like deadly searchlights. Railguns fired explosive rounds that created expanding clouds of shrapnel. Most of the biomines were destroyed, but some got through the defensive screen. The TCS Retribution took a direct hit that knocked out its main reactor. Captain Woe reported heavy casualties and requested permission to withdraw. "Negative, Captain," Park replied. "Switch to backup power and continue fighting. We cannot let the Queen ship escape." The battle raged for 6 hours. Human ships struck with precision and coordination, while alien forces fought with desperate fury. The nebula itself became a graveyard filled with wreckage from both sides. Finally, the Queen ship's defenses began to fail. Its bioarmor was torn and bleeding. Its weapon systems were going offline one by one. The massive vessel that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries was dying. "Sir," Rin reported, "the Queen ship is trying to retreat." "Not today," Park said grimly. "All ships final attack. Send them back to whatever hell spawned them." The combined Terran fleet fired everything they had at the wounded Queen ship. The massive alien vessel shuddered under the impact of 1,000 weapons. Its bioarmor cracked like an eggshell. Its living systems screamed and died. The Queen ship exploded in a flash of green fire that could be seen across 3 star systems. With their flagship destroyed and their fleet scattered, the surviving hegemony forces finally began to retreat. Supreme Admiral Threx, his own ship badly damaged, sent one final transmission before fleeing the battlefield. "This is not over. Humans, the hegemony will remember this defeat." Park watched the alien survivors escape into hyperspace. He had won the greatest victory in human military history, but he knew Threx was right. This was not the end of the war. It was only the beginning of humanity's rise to galactic dominance. 6 months after the Battle of Proxima Nebula, Admiral Park stood on the observation deck of Earth Station Alpha watching construction crews work on new battleships. The orbital shipyard stretched for hundreds of kilometers in every direction, filled with the sounds of humanity preparing for its new role in galactic affairs. The war with the Hegemony Alliance was over. After losing their Grand Armada and Queen ship, the 5 ruling races had surrendered unconditionally. 300 years of tyranny had ended not through negotiation or internal collapse, but through the decisive application of human military power. "Admiral," called Captain Yo, approaching with a datapad in her hands. "The occupation forces report that the last hegemony stronghold has surrendered. All major alien military installations are now under Terran control." Park nodded with satisfaction. Captain Yeo had been promoted to lead the occupation forces after the battle. Her Marines had been instrumental in securing alien worlds and freeing enslaved populations. "What about the tributary worlds?" Park asked. "Liberation is proceeding. On schedule," Yeo replied. "Over 200 formerly enslaved species have declared their independence. Most are requesting Terran protection from any remaining hegemony forces." This was exactly what Earth's government had hoped for. Humanity had not fought the hegemony to build their own empire. They had fought to ensure that no single species could ever again dominate the galaxy through fear and violence. The Terran Protectorate had been established as a voluntary alliance of free worlds. Any species could join if they agreed to basic principles: no slavery, no conquest of other worlds, and mutual defense against external threats. In return, they received protection from the growing Terran deep space fleet. "Sir," interrupted Lieutenant Rin from the communications station, "we are receiving a priority transmission from the Kepler sector." "Put it through," Park ordered. The main screen showed Captain Sue standing on the bridge of the TCS Liberator. Behind her, Park could see alien civilians moving freely through what had once been a hegemony slave processing facility. "Admiral," Sue reported, "the Zephyrian homeworld is officially free. The last hegemony administrators have been arrested and their bioships destroyed. The local population is celebrating in the streets." Park smiled. The Zephyrians had been among the first species enslaved by the hegemony 3 centuries ago. Their homeworld had been turned into a massive mining operation that fed the alien war machine. Now they were free to rebuild their civilization. "Excellent work, Captain," Park replied. "What is your next assignment?" "The Delphin Collective has requested assistance with hegemony holdouts in the Vega system," Sue said. My Marines are ready to deploy immediately. Approved. Keep me informed of your progress. As the transmission ended, Park reflected on how much had changed since that first battle in the Kepler sector. The Indomitable had proven that human weapons could defeat alien bioships, but it had taken the combined efforts of the entire Terran fleet to break the hegemony's power once and for all. The cost had been significant. Earth had lost 3 battleships and over 1,000 crew members during the final battle. The TCS, Retribution, was still undergoing repairs from the biomine attack, but compared to the centuries of suffering the hegemony had inflicted on the galaxy, humanity's sacrifices seemed small. Admiral, called Engineer Kang from his workstation, the new quantum disruption systems are ready for installation on all battleships. We should be able to counter any bio-neural networks we encounter in the future. Good, Park replied. What about the captured hegemony technology? Our scientists are making progress understanding their bioengineering techniques, Kang explained. We may be able to develop new medical treatments and environmental restoration methods from their research. This was one of the unexpected benefits of victory. The hegemony had spent centuries perfecting biological manipulation techniques. While they had used this knowledge for conquest and control, human scientists were finding ways to use it for healing and creation. Dr. Jin approached with his daily medical report. Admiral, the former hegemony prisoners have completed their rehabilitation programs. Most are requesting permission to return to their homeworlds. Granted, Park said, but maintain monitoring protocols. We need to ensure they do not try to rebuild the old power structures. The truth was that most former hegemony leaders were genuinely grateful for humanity's merciful treatment. The Terran victory had freed them from a system that had demanded constant conquest and expansion. Many alien species were discovering that they preferred peace to endless war. Sir, Rin called out again. Long-range sensors are detecting an unidentified vessel approaching from the galactic rim. Park felt a familiar tension in his chest. The galaxy was vast and humanity had only explored a small portion of it. There could be other hostile species out there, waiting to threaten the peace that had been so hard won. What kind of vessel? He asked. Unknown configuration, Rin replied. It does not match any ship design in our databases. Energy output suggests advanced technology, but the construction appears to be mechanical rather than biological. Park smiled grimly. Another potential threat to investigate. Another challenge for humanity to overcome. Alert the fleet, Park ordered. Prepare a first contact team and ready the diplomatic protocols. If these newcomers are peaceful, we will welcome them to the galactic community. If they are hostile, he did not need to finish the sentence. Everyone on the station knew what would happen to species that threatened the peace. The Terran Deep Space Fleet now numbered over 50 battleships, with more launching every month. Earth's shipyards could produce vessels faster than any alien race had ever managed, but Park hoped it would not come to violence. The galaxy had seen enough war for several lifetimes. Humanity had proven its strength in battle. Now it was time to prove their wisdom in peace. Admiral, Captain Yo said quietly, do you ever wonder if we did the right thing? Park considered the question carefully. Humanity had destroyed an ancient empire and taken responsibility for the freedom of hundreds of species. It was a burden that would last for generations. Captain, Park replied, 300 years ago, the Hegemony Alliance began enslaving entire civilizations. Billions of beings lived and died in chains because no one was strong enough to stop them. Today, those chains are broken. He gestured toward the viewports showing construction of new battleships. Each vessel represented Earth's commitment to protecting galactic freedom. We did not choose this responsibility, Park continued. It was forced upon us when the hegemony threatened human space, but now that we have it, we will use it wisely. Yeo nodded with understanding. The Terran Protectorate was not perfect, but it was infinitely better than the tyranny that had come before. Sir, Rin reported, the unidentified vessel is transmitting a message. They identify themselves as the Andromedan Trade Consortium. They are requesting permission to establish peaceful contact with the Terran Protectorate. Park smiled with relief. Traders, not conquerors. The galaxy could always use more commerce and cooperation. Grant permission for approach, Park ordered, and send a welcoming message. Let them know that all peaceful species are welcome in human space. As the alien trade vessel approached Earth Station Alpha, Park reflected on humanity's remarkable journey. In less than 2 years, they had gone from an unknown species to the dominant military power in the galaxy. Earth's children now patrolled star systems that their parents had never dreamed existed. The future was uncertain. There would be new threats to face and new challenges to overcome. But humanity had proven that freedom was worth fighting for, no matter what the odds. Standing on the observation deck of the most advanced space station in galactic history, Admiral Park watched the stars and smiled. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders, and humanity would be there to protect them all. The age of human guardianship had begun.